need a 14 emote. That's what we need. We need to get a 14 emote. All you people spamming 14, we're going to give you an emote next week. You can tune in again on Sunday next week, and you will have a 14 emote in the chat. But without further ado, we are here. Game number 1 between Nicov and BacT for our round 5 here. Joining me today, Killer B for this set of games. Hello.
Hey, Zach. Nice to be here with you. Just wanted to throw a little bit of numbers at you while we get this one started up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got... So on Voobly, in the last 33 games that Nicov and BacT have played together, Nicov has a 58% win percentage, but BacT is the higher rated player. So an interesting series here. Maybe Nicov a little bit comfortable playing against BacT 1v1, but BacT the higher rated player at the moment. None of that will matter because this is not on Voobly. This is slightly a different setup. And we will obviously be seeing these guys playing this incredibly seriously, 1v1 on Baltc, Aztec's War. And I think I've said enough for the intro. I should let the real host talk.
Well, I mean, with stats and information like that, I think you should be the real host next time. I haven't done my research, clearly. But, yeah, Baltc going to be the setup here with Aztec Mirror. So, I mean, you were just talking about, you know, this isn't Voobly, this isn't AOC, but we are going to get a classic Civ, a Civ that these players are going to be incredibly familiar with, and a Civ that has actually changed slightly with these expansions. I do realize the overlay is bugged, maybe? It should be fine now. But yes, the Aztecs, one of the major differences that doesn't really come into play so much with Baltc, although actually it could have a small impact later on once they hit the feudal age, is the fact that they have 150 gold to start instead of starting with free loom. So in AOC, they get loom for free and they start with 100 gold, hence the famous Aztec 5 militia drush. But in the expansions on the HD edition, they don't have loom, but they do have an extra 50 gold to start with.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Also worth pointing out, Aztecs, no galleon, no cannon galley, no heavy demo. So they're a good water civ, but they don't have every single option available. Water is going to be really important. Usually in Baltc, we'll see people fighting over the middle, and they will be using a slightly smaller pool of ships in this match.
Yeah, although I've got to say as well, if we look at the tech tree, I hope that this actually works. Yes, it does. Nice. With the overlay, we get the tech tree up on the screen and the game running beautifully in the background. I love it. But the Aztecs are a lot more competitive in the expansions on water, I feel. Just because the Fire Galley, I mean, I would rate the Aztecs higher than the Vikings right now in this meta at the moment, just because you've got a great eco civ, but you also get Fire Galley, and the Vikings don't. So I would still put the Aztecs ahead right there.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And while you mention that, both players start to get their docks up and start to get this water battle started. We've got the scout, or rather the Eagle Scout from BacT, making his way the long way across the map, potentially going to find a couple of extra sheep. I think he might have found a few sheep, but for now, it's going to be a pretty barren run for him. On the other side, we've got Nicov pushing deer, trying to get a little bit of a food boost as he works his way toward the feudal age, when this one is going to really pop off.
Yeah, I'm actually really, like, just to kind of go back a little bit and to talk about the map again. Baltc, again, it's like, what is with this map pack? For those of you who don't know, we're using a map pack, which is supposed to have, you know, an equal chance of every map coming up, but it's like Baltc every time, which is crazy. But I'm not going to complain, because actually the Baltc games that we have had have actually been really very entertaining, and I think a lot of people harbor some, like, deep prejudice against, like, Baltc and Team Islands. But they've actually been really good games. In fact, some of the best games of this event have been on Baltc, if I could say so myself. And I think, yeah, it definitely doesn't mean that, oh, Baltc, we're going to see just water, water, water. In fact, the land will be really significant once you get to the middle to later stages of the game. Now, speaking of that land, look at the gold for BacT right here. It's all over to the left side of the map. Apart from that one at the north, which is kind of exposed. I wonder if that could actually end up being a problem for him later on.
Yeah, he does have a lot of exposed resources. He has enough. He also has a stone that's actually pretty much useless on a cliff here, which is really annoying as well.
Yeah. I just saw that. That's kind of awkward. It's not a bugged map since his main stone is completely accessible, but I mean, yeah, I mean, not really that. It doesn't matter that much for the Aztecs, I guess. You know, Aztecs aren't a civ that like to typically make that many castles. They're not going to be relying on their castle unit so much, but still, it's kind of awkward to see this stone like that. As both players going up to the feudal age here, Nicov with one additional population, that's one additional villager, both with 3 fishing ships, as we're going to start to see the action picking up on the water here very soon.
Yeah, back sending villagers over to gold. Nicov taking just maybe a second longer. I still don't see villagers on gold for Nicov. But we'll keep an eye on that. He will go establish another lumber camp, but got to get the gold production going soon. Second dock actually from BacT will be denied for the moment. BacT trying to build up that dock, Nicov getting his eagle in there, and that's a pretty meaningful delay. He can slow his opponent's first couple galleys down by quite a lot.
Yeah, and it's also forcing BacT to send another villager over, so he's forcing idle time as well, which is really nice. If he's very lucky, he'll get the villager kill. I think it's like almost impossible that that would happen, but who knows? I mean, he's gonna take another hit, 2 more hits, and he's gonna. Oh, she's gonna go down. Oh. Dude, oh, that was close. That was so close. 1 HP. Jeez, that was really close. But the significance here is that BacT's dock is going to be delayed by a bit, but nothing too major. I mean, it's not like it's incredibly late. Nikov's not in the feudal age yet, so there you go. Overall, BacT's still going to get his fire galleys out first.
Yeah, and it's going to be 2 fire galleys out from BacT. It's going to be 1 fire galley queued at the moment from Nicov. There's the second one. Incredibly close positioning of their docks here. This is going to be a fight immediately. These guys can almost, they can see Russia from their house, like Sarah Palin style. So those galleys are going to be all over each other here in just a second.
Oh yeah, BacT going to get the first galleys out as well. So he's going to get the first fishing ship for free, basically. It's very surprising how close they are. It doesn't normally end up being this close on Baltc because the lake normally positions itself, you know, quite thoroughly between both players. In this case, they've kind of both docked on the left, and as a result, BacT's going to disrupt the fishing ships of Nicov, but Nicov sending 1 fire galley out, like a rogue fire galley out here to chase BacT's fish away as well. So both players looking reasonably even right now as our first demolition raft comes out, and the overlay is incorrect, guys. Oh, yeah, no, my bad. It was incorrect. Now it's fixed itself. Before it said the Aztecs don't get the demolition raft, but they do.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a clusterfuck of a beginning. We've got ships all over the north of the map. We've got ships chasing fish. We've got basically red and blue alternating all over the map. Total ship numbers at the moment are +1 for BacT, but it is incredibly close. Nicov saying, WTF, Aztecs have demos. I don't know if he's...
Since when? What happened? Please explain. How did this... Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the demos, I feel like they're underwhelming at best anyway. I mean, you really have to position them well, but Nicov wasn't expecting that, that's for sure. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, BacT actually 7 ships apiece, but I think BacT's going to get the upper hand still. He is the one chasing Nicov away. He does have the higher pool of health on his units, so this is very, very good for him at the moment, as Nikov's really going to start getting punished now as the numbers quickly shift in BacT's favor.
Yeah, BacT at the moment he's a couple fishing ships behind and he's 1 villager behind, but he is taking over the water at the moment, or he might be. It looks like it's starting to roll his way, which is obviously the most important thing here in the early feudal age. BacT is going to add a barracks and an archery range right now to the west of his TC, and he's also sending a villager down to do some walling and gating. So it's going to be a one-way avenue from BacT sending archers toward his opponent Nicov.
Yeah, this is kind of surprising that BacT would add this so soon, but I think he just feels like, yeah, I've won the water. I'm just going to push this advantage right now. Normally players will like make sure they've like at least taken down a dock or something before they'll really get the buildings up, the military production buildings. And also, I mean, BacT, he is kind of relying on the fact that Nicov isn't going to wall this up, and he's got his scout positioned in a position... Wow, his scout positioned in a position here so that he can actually spot if Nikov's walled it, and he knows it's open. So this is really good play from BacT, and kind of cap style right here, I'd say. Pushing the advantage while he can, like really pushing it hard.
Yeah, backed with really nice timing. He switched into land military not a moment too soon after taking over the water. Nicov is going to start to palisade wall a very long stretch in front of his TC. He's probably going to get that done. He's almost definitely going to get that done before the archers arrive. Nicov will also palisade the entire backside as well.
Yeah, that's what I was woeing at right there. Switch to his point of view. I was like, whoa, this isn't like AI walls here. I mean, it's this really an extensive wall off from him, an extensive and expensive wall off, because it's costing him a lot of villager time. It's costing him a lot of resources, but the alternative is to let a bunch of archers into your base and be dead. So I think for Nicov, doing the right thing, but still, BacT only just sending the archers over now. So, I mean, he probably panic moded a little bit, but he definitely did the right thing, taking the precaution to get this walled up in time.
Yeah, BacT has taken over the water now, taken down one of Nikov's dock. The second dock will be in a lot of trouble as well. Nicov at the moment, 250 food, 400 gold. BacT, 150 food, 100 gold. So Nicov could try to do a quicker castle time and try to beat his opponent back onto the water.
Yeah, I think so, but he's going to have to really deal with the land attack. And I think if Nicov hits castle first, he's probably going to want to build a siege workshop before anything else, because if he's unprepared to deal with archers right now, then that might be his only option, unless he then adds instead a barracks and an archery range and starts making his own defensive units. So even if he hits castle first, I think this aggression from BacT on the land is certainly going to slow down Nikov's retake of the water, plus the fact that Nicov would have to rebuild his docks. It's definitely looking a little bit dicey for him. Fortunately, like we said, Nicov is walled up, so it's going to be difficult for BacT to do much damage here. Though I noticed there's actually a relic on this left side. You see where the tree line is for Nicov on the south?
Yes.
Does that relic actually block the units? I don't think it does.
I think it will.
It will. Okay, it will. Okay. So I mean, BacT could do a really awesome play and drop a forward monastery and pick up the relic to let his army through. Oh, I would love that. That would be.
Dude, we are in sync. I was just having a wet dream about that happening. That would be amazing.
If only. It's unlikely he would scout it even, but still pressuring the wood line here of Nicov, and for the time being, going to be kept out. But these palisades aren't going to be able to keep him out forever. Once BacT hits castle, he will be able to get the crossbow and the bodkin, and the palisade will eventually go down. And the difficulty here, of course, is for Nicov to re-wall behind this. He can't send villagers over because they'll die to the archers, and that's a little bit awkward. So BacT almost has him surrounded at this point.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate for Nicov. His wood lines just aren't very thick. BacT here really could just camp a couple of archers all along these wood lines. He doesn't even have to get inside. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. He's got two wood lines that aren't thick enough to protect those vills.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely need a thick wood in order to safely gather. But yeah, this is horrible for Nicov here. And okay, he is on the way up to the castle age. He's 42% of the way up. But the question is, what does he do when he gets castle? I feel like he has to make a siege workshop. I think that's his option. A siege workshop, and then, you know, potentially he can drop a TC as well. I think he's got to build, even if he builds a lumber camp on the south side, the way he's walled it doesn't really protect it very much.
Yeah, Nikov's in a lot of trouble here. The only plus side to this right now is that we might get to see him do something a little bit risky that might make this game interesting again. At the moment, he's trying to dock more, but BacT is going to find those docks. So how Nikov's going to get back in this game, I have no clue. But hopefully he has something up his sleeve.
Yeah. I'm really surprised to see Nicov kind of falling apart like this. I mean, he's such a strong player. It looks so messy for him right now. He is making demolition rafts. He's got 3 demolition rafts inside the dock, and I think that's that's all well and good, but there's no follow-up to that. Right now, I mean, he's got 700 food, 400 gold, 450 wood. I mean, he's got lots of resources, but until he hits the castle age, he's not going to be able to spend them. Losing more villagers in the wood line on the south as well to just a single archer, that's really got to hurt.
Yeah, Castle Age comes in for Nicov. At the moment, I don't see another TC. I do see another TC coming down. It's actually going to be a town center and a siege workshop from him. So good call on your part. That's all he can do really to defend himself. On the water, he's queued some demo ships. Nicov has a couple of those ready to pop out, but BacT has done a decent job at keeping his ships pretty far from one another. So one demo ship can't really kill multiple ships there.
Sorry, I missed that. I was just kind of fixing the overlay and also watching the archers from BacT coming in. He actually did break through the palisade wall as well here. And as I said before, I mean, that palisade's not going to keep these guys out forever. Nicov losing a couple of vills, but he did get the TC up ultimately. And that's going to keep him safe for now. But this is a lot of damage coming in for BacT. Your point on the water as well. The demos came out and he didn't seem to kill much, did he?
No, I think I actually missed that as well, but I think he might have gotten a couple of ships. So not really the heroic demo shot, but there's a good mango shot from Nicov to chase these archers from BacT in the north away for now. But there are archers all over that wood line that we were worried about on the east of the blue base. So Nicov here is just in so much trouble from so many angles, and he's going to have to try to find a way out of it as BacT hits the castle age himself.
Yeah, this is just going from bad to worse at the moment for Nicov right now. He's trying to build another dock here. He does want to try and get some kind of water control back. If he can win the water and get some fish out, he has a chance to kind of regain some ground. But at the moment, BacT is fishing as well with just 4 ships, but it's still an extra advantage that he can put up his sleeve. BacT is also now completing, or has completed, sorry, crossbows, bodkin arrow. There is no more holes in the walls, but just look, oh my gosh, look at that wood line for Nicov. That is so ugly. There's like 35 villagers right here, and they're all bumping each other. They're dying to a couple of crossbows, and Nicov like has no map control, has no security whatsoever.
Yeah, and BacT's also doing a really nice job to be patrolling around the water. He's already found Nikov's newest dock, and he's going to be able to respond to it. And there is the GG from Nicov. And it was absolutely over at this point. That was very nice game from BacT.
Yeah, that was like so one-sided. I'm amazed at how easy BacT made that look almost. BacT sending a villager forward here. And I'm just going to pretend that this villager was going to build a monastery so he could pick up that relic and start raiding the back of Nikov's base as well. We'll just pretend that that would have happened and we can be happy. So
no, he definitely was. I just called BacT on the phone while we were mid-game, and he'd said that was the plan.
So. Well, actually, I did see BacT in the chat earlier. BacT, if you're still out there, can you just confirm to us that this villager was going to build a monastery? That would be great. But yeah, that was an incredibly swift and one-sided game from BacT right there, winning the water very quickly in the early game, and then just surrounding Nicov. And like, this is the kind of situation you never want to be in on this map. I mean, you've got 2 flanks that are basically 8 or 9 palisades from being closed, and then Nicov had to build like 40 palisade walls in order to close his base. Not ideal, to say the least. And look at the walling from BacT here. Obviously, walling isn't everything, since you can just transport around the walls. But Nicov definitely could have walled his base a little more effectively, or at least in a way that would secure his wood lines a bit more. Sort of thinking ahead, but it's so difficult even in that situation to handle a landing, for example, which could have happened as well.
Yeah, I think the key at this point is mentally, how does Nicov come back in game number 2? I mean, you kind of got beat up on a little bit in game 1. We've all had these games. And sometimes you can have these like mental lapses where game number 2, you play like crap as well. And Nikov's going to have to try to avoid that in the next match.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know what like the feeling is like. You know, you just kind of, one thing happens and then you react to it, and then before you finished reacting to the first thing, the second thing happens, and then you're just like scrambling to catch up and keep up. And like BacT sort of maneuvered himself into that position where he was dictating exactly what happened in that game, and Nicov was just reacting, and playing that kind of reactive gameplay never gets you ahead. You have to really be making your own counter plays, which never really happened for Nicov there. But yes, there you go. Game 1 for BacT, victory. Game 2, Nikov's home map, Arabia. Question for you now. Are you ready to go into game 2?
Just about. Give me just one moment here. Let's see. Okay, I've got game 2 loaded up, and I'm just going to make my overlay ready for game 2 as well.
Oh
All
my
right.
goodness! You have to excuse me. I was just in. Do you know Luffus? I was just in TeamSpeak, and like Luffus just joins the channel and starts like, "Hey Zach, hey, how's it going?" Oh, sorry guys. I totally forgot TeamSpeak was still open. I was in a private channel at least, so Oh well. Anyway,
You can never have too many friends on AOC, right?
Exactly. Never, never, never. So I'm gonna update the overlay so warships isn't showing, and if you're ready, we can go ahead and.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Oh, sorry. I gotta regain composure here a second.
Luffus, are you ready?
I told him yesterday that I was streaming here as well, so he should know. But okay. Whew. Let's go. In 3, 2, 1, go. And here we are. Guys, welcome to game number 2, Nicov versus BacT in their 3-game series for the All-Star League. After a very solid game number 1 from BacT, he is going to go into game 2 here. And immediately, as you can see by the overlay, researching Loom. What could that mean? Well, it means only one thing, and that is that he is playing as the Mayans down to the, over to the west of the map in the red. And over to the east in the blue, we have Nicov playing as the Indians. It's not an Indian mirror, but Indians are in play, Killer B. What are your thoughts on this?
I kind of like this. I think in theory, if you're playing against a Civ that has these super OP camels, it's kind of cool not to have knights. I mean, one of the weaknesses, not weaknesses, but holes in the Mayan Civ is that you can't build cavalry. Well, it doesn't matter that much because those camels aren't going to be able to counter cavalry in this particular match. We'll see how this goes. Obviously, Mayans with a lot of great bonuses like cheaper archers, resources last longer, and they do have really nice Eagle Warriors with El Dorado. So we'll see if that happens in this particular match. Indians, that beautiful OP Civ that we've been talking about. For now, let's just talk about their cheaper vills and their ability to counter really any unit choice. I think if BacT is going to win this one, he's going to have a balanced unit choice of either some form of infantry with some form of archers.
Well, I actually think the Mayans have the edge in this matchup every day of the week. We actually have seen this matchup one time before. It was, I think it was in round 1 even. It was Tato versus his round 1 opponent. I cannot remember who. But it was Mayans versus Indians. And the priority was El Dorado on the Eagles, 100 HP. And suddenly, even the Indians with their really good gunpowder, because gunpowder is so slow, because it takes a while to get enough hand cannons out, and because you have the extra HP on the Eagle Warriors from the El Dorado tech, the Eagle Warriors win. And they perform pretty well versus the camels as well, which are also very slow. Let's not forget, like you said, the Mayans do have that excellent eco bonus. They're a very smooth Civ to play with. And if you can get to the late game, it doesn't even have to necessarily get to the late game. But I do think the Mayans are going to have the edge there in the early late game. And that's when they're going to be looking to close it out.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And if you think about getting to the late game, often you're thinking about how safe is my map. I really like the map here from the red player BacT. He's got back gold, back stone, and he's actually got an area that he can close. It's not going to be pretty, but if he walls toward the TC and walls the corner here, he's got an entire back pocket with stone and gold that's going to be totally protected. So we'll watch him go through this game. BacT does like to wall up, does wall up early in a lot of matches that I watch him play. And I think he would be paid off greatly if he does wall early in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone in the chat was asking, how are camels slow? I don't mean the unit themselves is slow. Obviously, camels move quite quickly. But the heavy camel technology is one of the slowest researching techs in the game. In fact, I believe it is even tied as the slowest researching tech. And then you have to then do the Imperial camel tech as well. in order to really be like competitive with those camels. So oftentimes you will see players like stalling out for a really long time to complete those technologies before utilizing their camels and actually being able to fight. Whereas the Eagle Warriors, they train really quick, they upgrade really fast, and the Mayans have a great economy to support that as well. So just keep that in mind. And also as well, I mean, I think the Plumed Archer would even perform quite well versus the Indians, to be honest. Just in
absolutely.
general. Until, of course, the Indians maybe go into... This is a thing. It goes back to the Indians being quite slow in the late game. Like, okay, the Indians have the Elephant Archers, which we saw absolutely destroyed the Brits. Elite Elephant Archers killing a fully upgraded Arbalest, Brits Arbalest, really effectively. But they're slow. Plumed Archers, I think, are a good choice as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's going to be an interesting game strategically, but first we have to get that far. And we'll have to see if in this early game, if Nicov can protect a relatively open map. His gold here, a little bit out in front of the TC. There's actually a hill there, which is an annoying position. It does look like we might see a Drush here from BacT, who's dropping his barracks as we speak. And I think he's going to wall himself in behind that. He's actually already started to wall in. So BacT is going to basically drush and wall up and probably be quite safe before Nicov can threaten him. Nicov here is going to have to defend himself really adeptly if he's going to have a strong mid game. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I do think that I do like this actually from BacT, to be honest. I think like you want to pressure the Indians early, and you want to keep that pressure on throughout the game, just to delay them as much as you can before they reach that like death ball, I guess. But speaking of the map, like you said before, BacT does have a great map here for this kind of wall up. As you can see, he's built a couple of houses on the back. He's palisading it up as well, and Nikov's map's a little more open than that. You know, his gold's on the front here. The right side of his base, you know, there's not a tree in sight, or a tree line in sight, I should say. There's like a couple of stragglers, but it's definitely going to be difficult to wall this up for Nicov and secure this. Compared to BacT anyway, everything's relative, of course.
Yeah, Nicov clicking up to the feudal age. He knows BacT's Drush is coming. He can see the score, so he's already walled in his wood lines, and he should be pretty ready to defend against militia. Barracks is coming down for Nicov. He will soon be ready to drop something next to that, presumably a stable and some scouts, but we will wait and see just another couple of seconds, 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think scouts, you could go like straight into skirms, but scouts are generally the sort of standard for the Indians, I've noticed, and yeah, it will be a stable. But I like that Nicov, you know, he didn't even scout the barracks of BacT, but he knew the Drush was coming. You know, he knows the Drush was coming because he built the palisades on the wood lines, and like, game sense there for Nicov definitely on point, but still, I mean, the moment, it's going to be a few moments before he's able to get the scouts out, and the Drush can go towards his berries and maybe harass a little bit over there, but I think it's unlikely BacT will kill any vills here. Nicov should be able to keep everything safe for now. The question is, will BacT upgrade to men-at-arms? Probably not. He's very slow to feudal here. It's definitely a Drush fast castle kind of situation from him.
Yeah, I think BacT here, although his Drush isn't going to probably even hit a single villager for now, this is still a really, really winning type of Drush because he's totally walled himself in back at home. He's got incredibly safe gold. He's going to be up to feudal age. Those scouts are not going to bother him at all. And I think that's what he wanted all along. So I would say that this, in general, keeping Nicov busy is all this Drush was really made for.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that he didn't even need to do that because he was able to close the wall before Nicov would have even attacked with scouts anyway. But it's definitely a safe play from BacT to make the 3 militia. He's going to keep Nicov busy for now. He's even going to kill the first scout with taking minimal damage. So he's going to keep Nicov busy for a while. And if he can keep killing some scouts here and keep Nicov making a couple more, he's going to slow Nikov's castle time down by a little bit more as well. In fact, look at this. Nicov bringing in some villagers just to scare him away. Yes, villagers. Very threatening. Very threatening.
Couple of villagers to turn the tide of that battle makes sense, but your point is absolutely well made. 4 scouts now, or 3 scouts have been made. The initial scout, obviously, for free. That's a lot of food to be investing in the feudal age when you know your opponent is probably going fast castle. BacT hits feudal just now, so Nicov knows exactly what's going on here. The question is, how is he going to react to this situation? Obviously, he needs to get his eco in order, but he's going to add in another scout to go forward with his initial group.
I almost. This is the thing. Nikov's playing this quite blind. He hasn't really scouted back space. If you look at Nikov's scouting, he sees the lumber camp. That's it. And
Right.
he should expect that BacT will have walled, or he will at least be walling. But it's still a little bit of a gamble to add the extra scout here and then add an archery range. If Nicov really wants to be aggressive now, I think he's got to come forward and drop a tower to support his push. Otherwise, he's got to stop all military production, probably stonewall, and then try and get to the castle age himself, much later, of course, than BacT here.
Yeah, the archer range blacksmith is an interesting choice, but if anybody can pull it off, I guess it's Mr. Nicov. He has not started queuing any archers just yet. Doesn't actually have a gold economy. He's just now starting to move over to gold. So we're not going to see many archers, I would think. He just can't afford it. Trying to put some pressure on the palisades of BacT in the bottom of the base, but I cannot imagine BacT will let him through here. Pretty easy job with one villager, building secondary walls to keep those scouts out for good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the bigger risk of doing a huge wall off. You do have to send a villager over, and if you can't make it in time, you can be in a little bit of trouble. And this is why I think Nicov probably will want to wall up here pretty heavily and kind of mirror BacT in this situation. BacT is already halfway to, or nearly halfway to castle, and he's adding a second archery range, going to go straight into crossbows, of course. And I'm worried for Nicov here because it looks like he's doing one of those walls that we saw last game. Instead of walling to the oasis, he's just walling straight towards the back of the map. What's that about? He's not scouted it. That's why. Oh dear, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really tough situation. Nikov's also going to have to put a tower on his main gold to keep that safe, which is resource that will prevent him from being able to drop extra TCs early on. So Nikov's in a tough spot, grabbing wheelbarrow. BacT will be up to castle age quite soon, probably before Nicov even clicks the upgrade. So Nikov's in a lot of hot water here, but we'll see. BacT still has to go and do some damage with these archers. His main advantage right now is he's going to out-tech his opponent early, and he's going to have the ability to raid. But of course, he needs to do that effectively. If he doesn't get into the right spot of Nikov's base, then we could see Nicov basically get himself back in this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at these walls though. It's just such big walling. Bear in mind, walling has been nerfed in the expansions as well. You know, they take longer to build. It's so slow now. You know, AOC would have done this wall already, but Nikov's still building it, still wasting villager time, still spending resources on building the walls here. But yeah, I feel like maybe he needs to stonewall it even, but he's already built the tower now as well, so his stone is less. But I think BacT's going to do a lot of damage here. He's about to hit the castle age, or he is in the castle age now. The crossbowman upgrade is done. He's going to be moving out across the map, and he's going to find villagers straight away, because if he goes to the lumber line, I imagine, I mean, if I was BacT, I'd go straight to this lumber line here, because it's an oasis. He can just walk inside the tree line and just kill the villas from the other side, much like last game on Baltc. Nikov's going to be exposed from the other side of his wood. The wood just isn't thick enough.
Yeah, wood thickness has been a problem for Nicov. He's got to thicken his wood. He is going double range skirms, Nicov, at the moment, trying to slow down these crossbows. He's keeping his scout out front, just trying to slow those crossbows just a little bit. He'll transition his economy to the other side to take wood for now. I think Nicov can recover from this as far as building some skirms. BacT is not going to get in here very quickly. But like you said, I mean, and this has been true even in AOC, if you have a ton of villagers building a ton of long stretches of palisade, you're just losing a ton of gather time, and you're also spending wood all along.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing to see Nicov not scouting his map in the north as well, because, I mean, he had made a lot of scouts in the feudal age. It's not like there was a shortage of scouts to do that scouting, but he's ended up building this huge wall. And we said it just a few moments ago about how having a really big wall can actually be a really big problem when it comes to having to re-wall it, having to send a villager out. Now, if BacT was to come and attack this wall somewhere over here, where well, you can't see, but the stream can, how is Nicov going to get something over there to repair it by the time BacT breaks through? I don't know. It's going to be really tough. But Nicov is in the castle age, and at least he's stalled him for now, long enough to get Elite Skirmisher, which has been buffed. It's had a big buff in the expansions. It's cheaper, which means that defending from this crossbow aggression is easier for Nicov. Certainly something that he is grateful for and thankful for right now.
Yeah, Nicov will get that elite skirm upgrade, and he's got one scout that's still left alive. We've actually seen another eagle or two added in from BacT. He's got 2 eagle scouts with one group of archers to the north of Nikov's base. And those eagle scouts are really going to turn the tide in an elite skirm versus crossbowman battle. Just having a meat shield like those eagles is going to be a huge advantage for BacT. BacT's other group of crossbows for now is retreating, but he is trying to push in the north.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think what BacT needs to do right now is send a villager forward and make a siege workshop, and just keep the pressure on. Couple more eagles, support the crossbows, and crossbows with crossbows and mangonels are going to beat skirms and mangonels, I feel, any day. Just especially if you add a couple of eagle scouts as well. Oh, he actually has got a siege workshop as well, so it looks like he is going to do that and add the mangonel. So he didn't build it quite as far forward as I would have liked, but he's built it on the front anyway. He needs to just drop like a forward market now, just to BM Nicov a little bit.
The nice thing for BacT here is he's going to have a really good hill to push from. He's got basically a mountain that he's going to camp his mangonel on top of, and if he needs to retreat, he can always run back to that hill.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually a really good position for BacT as well to push from, like you say. He isn't taking the best fight, though. Elite Skirm with +1 defense versus... and Bodkin Arrow versus these crossbows. But I think BacT wants to keep Nicov inside his base. He'd rather keep him inside the walls where he knows where he is, rather than letting him out. And if that means losing a couple of crossbows to achieve that, it's worth it in time for the mangonel to come in. And now he can start putting that pressure on even more. Oh, Nicov, this is looking a little dicey. He is adding a second TC at the back, and did BacT add a second TC? No, he didn't, and I like that from him. I like that. The 1 TC aggression. Push the Indians hard, and that's exactly what BacT is going to do here.
Pretty meaningful fight coming up. We've got the crossbowman here from BacT, and Nikov's got his elite skirms. He's going to have to micro around a mangonel. 1 camel in play for Nicov, but he hasn't gotten it into the battle. He could have tried to push that mangonel away. Second camel is now in, and it looks like they will move forward and probably try to take down this mango. Soaking up some arrow fire, and elite skirms actually doing a lot of damage here in a pretty spread formation. And all of a sudden, BacT's big advantage is gone, and he's going to lose that mango as well.
Oh, that's actually really huge, actually. I credit to Nicov for splitting his army so well there. It all relies on splitting the army up and adding the camel as well so as to deal with the mangonel very easily. That was really well done, and Nikov's actually going to take the score lead after that fight as well. But BacT right back at him with a monk now. And that's just basically removed the threat of the camels from BacT or from Nicov. So, the camels take down the mangonels, no problem. But without the camels, with the camels converting to the other side, and then also being a meat shield against the skirms, I feel like the monk here from BacT is an absolute stroke of genius, almost. I don't want to say
absolutely.
Genius. It's a good play. Put it that way.
Yeah, really nicely timed monk in the right place at the right time to grab that camel, which really does help flip that battle. BacT will be on the offensive once again. Nicov, though, for everything that we've said about maybe his rough start, does have a score lead, does have a 3 villager advantage, has a second TC in a safe spot. BacT has added a second as well. But Nicov here is absolutely in. He's playing a great bit of judo, keeping his opponent from really taking over the match. I think he's done a great job defending so far.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he has definitely held his own here. And I think that's, in part what you are expected to do almost as the Indians. The Castle Age for the Indians is probably the point where you are looking to play more defensively. You are looking to start making elite skirms and camels and just basically making counter units and defending. But you have to be very careful because you do want to eventually transition to that late game, and at that point in the game, that's when you want to have great map control. That's when you don't want to be surrounded by your enemy, and BacT is going to keep the pressure up right here and keep pushing in, causing Nicov to basically sit behind his walls and kind of play a little bit in the dark.
Yeah, Nicov at the moment idling his ranges for a little bit, idling the stable. He has dropped a siege workshop and he will build a mangonel, but I wonder, scale barding on the way for Nicov as well. But I wonder if he's going to start to try to stockpile some resources and go up For now, it's a full defensive battle until we get to the next stage. He just doesn't have the right units to really go on the offensive.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I mean, if he takes a good fight, this is the thing with Mangonels as well, though. Like, Mangonels have the potential to completely change fights around, and Nicov going to get the 1-for-0 trade on the Mangonel there. Very nice. And literally, as I say, Mangonels have a great opportunity to turn a fight around. He does just that, and immediately BacT is running back to the hill. So Nicov defending quite well for now, but he has got to be careful running into these monks. Once some monk techs come through for BacT, he could really pose a threat with those, especially like converting the Mangonels. That could really be very difficult for Nicov to deal with here.
Yeah, Mangonels dancing around each other. BacT will get a good shot in and take down Nikov's Mango. And wow, BacT will convert the camel who was going to take it down.
Yeah.
In the end, though, both Mangonels dying.
1 HP on that Mangonel at the back, and Nicov like, oh, I gotta get that. He will get it as well. But still, Nikov's still pushing up the hill here. And, I mean, he can take the uphill fight, provided there's no Mangonel in play. But as soon as the Mangonel comes in, he's really got to focus on taking it down. And he's actually taking a really nice fight here. He'll get a good Mangonel shot in, really reducing the health pool of the crossbows. And although, yes, he's fighting uphill, he does have the perfect counter unit to this army. I think he might even take the hill here.
Yeah, Nicov adding in a third TC behind this, which will now act as the wall that will protect him from that very hill if BacT takes it back over. And yeah, you've got to think right now, Nikov's feeling really good about himself. He basically played a better micro game than BacT thus far. BacT had a better map, might have had a better macro strategy for the early game, but Nicov here has absolutely turned this game around. And now he is sitting pretty with 73 vills, BacT with 69. Neither guy's going to be clicking up anytime terribly soon. So pretty much an even matchup at the moment.
Yeah, I was just checking the overlay to see if Nicov had done ballistics, and then he started researching ballistics. I was like, oh yeah, he's not done ballistics. Yeah, ballistics coming in for Nicov here is actually really, really critical tech. He's actually taken some really good fights so far. It's actually 49 kills to 34 losses for Nicov. Certainly not too bad. And with ballistics coming into play, he should be able to keep that kind of KD advantage, I suppose. Maybe even force BacT to get ballistics here as well. Though BacT is probably looking to transition pretty quickly into getting that Imperial Age upgrade and getting the Eagle Warriors out. He isn't there just yet, though. It's going to be a little while yet, but third TC is up for BacT as well, and he's farming away quite heavily and really focusing on a gold and a wood-heavy army composition at the moment.
Yeah, we're certainly going to see these guys transition into a post-Imperial battle here soon. Nikov's still gaining resources, still building army, still building up that economy. 81 vills for him, 85 for BacT on the other side. He's slightly closer to clicking up if he wants to. Nicov with a couple good Mangonel trades, but in the end, for now, BacT controls that one main hill in the center of the map. Nicov chasing a couple straggler crossbowmen in the center of the map as well. But for now, this is a stalemate.
And this is absolutely where ballistics comes into play. BacT was trying to position around that army, and if Nicov hadn't got ballistics there, BacT probably would have kept 4 of those crossbows alive. But as a result, they're all going to go down, and Nikov's going to actually do a lot of extra damage with this ballistics tech, splitting his army quite nicely here, bringing the camels in at the back. Got to be careful not to get converted. He will lose 1. Meanwhile, he is juking the Mangonels, and I'm surprised BacT doesn't bring a villager over to repair, but for now Nikov's going to be running away as the main army of BacT comes in. But Nicov, I still think he's in a decent position to take some good fights out here. The problem is, or the concern for me, is that BacT will click up, I imagine, BacT will click up to the Imperial Age first. I think that's when things are going to get dicey for Nicov, once BacT starts adding in Eagles. And I've got to assume he's going for Eagles here, because I don't see a castle at this point.
Yeah, it is going to be Eagles, I would think, as well. We've got 3 new barracks coming down for BacT. We've got a couple new stables coming down for Nicov as well. And he's been putting more and more upgrades onto his camels. So Nicov here is going to fight probably Eagles with camels, which will be a really interesting battle. This is exactly what we thought might happen. And we'll see how it goes down.
Do you think the Eagles come out on top in that fight? They certainly do, yeah. Yeah, they cost less gold, and they have pretty decent stats. I don't know about Imperial camels though. They're super strong.
It's true. Those upgrades, once they're in, I think the camels will be more effective. But it's all about cost benefit,
exactly.
and it's going to be really interesting. I guess we're going to find out here live together. We'll figure out how this goes.
Absolutely. Nicov here actually doesn't have bloodlines yet, but he does have +3 defense on his camels, which is interesting. Pushing out now a little more and building a siege workshop, but there you go. The Eagle Warrior upgrade is done for BacT, and the Imperial Age upgrade is on the way as well. Nikov's just completing bloodlines now, but the Imperial Age tech for Nicov just isn't there, and it's not going to be there either. He's a long way away still, and BacT here, I think he's going to take a huge advantage as soon as he hits Imp. Nikov's probably going to want to, I don't know, thing is, like, if he stops making military, then he's in trouble. And if he doesn't hit Imp, he's in trouble. So whatever he does right now, he's in trouble, because BacT is going to be Imp very, very shortly, and that's dangerous. That's real dangerous.
Nicov trying to get a castle up near his most western TC, but that castle will be denied by a couple of crossbows from BacT. He actually needs to make sure he deletes it because it's not on that high of HP. But the camel numbers continue to grow. We've got camels queued up from Nicov in 3 different stables. He's got a 4th stable on the way. So he might be trying to make some waves here in the Castle Age. BacT obviously spending a ton of resource to click Imp. Might be caught a little bit off guard by this, but we'll have to wait and see.
I don't think he will. Yeah. To be honest, I think like the Eagles are so fast. Like as soon as he hits Imp, he'll do the Elite Eagle upgrade, and he can fight toe to toe with the camels, no problem. I don't know. I mean, Nicov here, he might have a little bit of additional army, or he doesn't even have additional army. My bad. He's actually 3 behind. So I don't think he's done enough damage yet, and I don't think he will have the window to do enough damage before BacT hits Imp here. So I'm a little bit concerned, to be honest. A little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly looking good for BacT, who's adding in more and more Eagles. We've got Imperial Age in about 5 seconds for him, and presumably he'll click Elite Eagle right away. BacT has the resources in the bank to do just that, and he's going to continue to pump out Eagles with 112 villagers, so a really strong economy for BacT. And in the end, he's looking in a real strong position. Nikov's trying to get a castle up to protect that center area of the map. And for now, he might sneak it there. But look at this. BacT is going to build a castle, basically touching Nikov's castle.
Castle on a hill. And interestingly here, BacT actually taking the fight versus the camels before Elite Eagle Warrior is completed, which I'm a little bit disappointed about, because he would have absolutely won that fight with the Elite Eagle upgrade, I believe. But without it, he ends up losing, and Nicov now takes the army advantage, building his castle here, and actually going to deny the castle from BacT as well. Let's see though. I mean, BacT, I don't think he's going to be able to take that back very easily, but the thing is, he's got Elite Eagles now. He can just start running them into Nikov's eco, start doing a lot of damage, start disrupting things, and they just train so quickly at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Nicov. That was a good fight for him, I would say. Definitely getting his castle up was a huge bonus before BacT. But there is a big but. Those Eagles are really... The fear is that those Eagles will be inside of this economy quite soon. And they just have so much resistance to arrow fire that they should be fine. Nikov's actually rushing down a house with a bunch of villagers in the middle of the map, which is really interesting. Not sure what his plan is. Maybe he just wants to drop a gold mine there. But right now we've got villagers. Okay, here we go. They're going to drop a second castle on top of the hill.
Yeah, he wants to gather up. Oh, the Eagles coming in. And Nikov's going to lose a bunch of vills here to the Eagles as they run back to the castle. Obviously, that castle's going to be delayed a little bit. But yeah, I think he wants to get the gold back there, that's for sure. Meanwhile, BacT's going to do his castle on the right side. It doesn't cover any real resources, but I think he just needs the castle so he can get El Dorado, and then he's going to be good to go. But yeah, even still, I mean, I think Nikov's done a really good job of holding out here. He still hasn't clicked Imp. He's about to, but I think that's absolutely necessary. He had to keep making a lot of military in this position. So that slower Imperial time was, of course, a given.
Yeah, notably, okay, camel, basic camel here. Well, it is upgraded, but we're looking at 8 damage, 120 HP, 3 armor versus melee, versus an eagle that's 60 HP without El Dorado, which is on the way, which will really change this fight. Yep. But a 60 HP unit with 11 damage with the same amount of armor. So really right now, camels versus elite eagles isn't that bad of a fight. but El Dorado is going to make it a much, much better situation for BacT.
100 HP for BacT right now, and he's going to take this fight very nicely over here. If I'm not mistaken, Eagles have an attack bonus versus Cavalry as well, but yes, they do have a small attack bonus here. They're doing 10 damage per hit. And they have 11 damage versus the 3 armor, so they have like a 2 attack bonus. It's a small amount, but it's enough to get him a pretty good victory over here over on this right side.
Absolutely, and BacT will drop a castle on the hill that would take away Nikov's wood line there. And Nicov will give the GG, never making it to the Imperial Age. In that Indian OP unbeatable Civ does show some weakness in this particular game.
Yeah, that was very, very good from BacT, and I think the Mayans... it depends. I think he did a really good job. The Droshfast Castle was a great strat choice from him. He had a game plan in mind, and that was to get to the Imperial Age safely by securing his eco in the Castle Age, pressuring his opponent in the Castle Age to further secure his economy, and then get El Dorado and Eagles and start raiding and killing, well, everything.
Yeah, very well-timed game. Great meta from BacT. Nicov had some really great micro for a bit there and really did win a couple of micro battles, defended himself nicely. But in the end, BacT's meta strategy was just too strong, and Camels just could not fight Elite Eagles with El Dorado.
Yeah, and I was right as well. My math was correct. They do actually have a +2 attack versus Camels. Don't do math on stream, they said. Well, we did it. We did it. I think
it's a good point though, because people out there are always going to be playing these civs and trying to figure out how to win different matchups. A +2 damage bonus is a pretty huge bonus. That's a really major thing.
It's +4 versus Cavalry, +2 versus Camels. But I don't think the Cavalry is for the like Knights line, whereas the Camels just obviously Camels. But yes, an enjoyable game. BacT getting a 2nd point on the board, and people are saying, Indians need buffing. They've picked like nearly every single game, and they're actually really not winning that often anymore. But I don't necessarily want to say it's the Civ. I think BacT in the last game, proving that he is a incredibly strong player, making the first game look very straightforward. And going into the second game, we can't just accredit that to, he was the Mayans. He was BacT as the Mayans. I think that's what matters, really.
Well said, absolutely. And looks like BacT will leave here with a 2-game advantage. And that's really slowing Nicov down from the points that he wanted to get up into that upper echelon of players in this particular series.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Where does BacT stand in the tables right now? Actually, that's a good point. I should say this right now. Nicov actually did not play the 3rd game. Nicov gave the admin win. I don't exactly know the reason, but I was told by Robo, tournament admin, that the admin win was given to BacT for game 3 because Nicov forfeited the match, and that means it will actually be a 3-0 victory to BacT in that one. Probably goes back to what you said before about that mental aspect of, I just got smashed in game 1. I went into game 2 and it was okay, but I still lost. Game 3, anyone?
I guess. I mean, I hope not. Nicov is a pretty tough dude, but I'm looking at the scores. He's got 7 wins. The Viper and Tato have 10. So if he was able to do well in this series, he would have been right up there with the keeping up with the Kardashians, I suppose. But in the end,
Viper Kardashian confirmed. Yeah.
It's just a really tough situation for Nicov.
I agree, and if we look at the bracket right now, it is going to come up in a second.